Hey, what's going on, sports cards fans? Ray from Philly here, and welcome to another episode of what I like to call Sports Card Memories, where I delve into YouTube collectors across the YouTube community. This is episode number 4, where we discuss the collectors past, present, and future of collecting in this hobby. So, with us tonight is Scott of Stuke'S Baseball Cards and Curiosities. So I want to bring him on. Scott, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm really curious to get right started. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Ray. It's
Oh,
a
it's my
pleasure to
pleasure.
be here.
My pleasure, my friend. My pleasure. I'm going to have Scott's link down to his channel down below, so make sure you check out his channel. And we're going to, I guess, delve right into the past first, Scott. So let people know when you started collecting, what you started collecting. Was there a person or an event or something that got you started collecting in this crazy world of baseball cards that we're all addicted to? So how did you get started? When was it? And so forth.
Well, this is like 1967.
Oh,
My
year I was born.
my mom would send me up for groceries, which was a half a block away down the alley. Small town of about 500 people, and she gave me like 15 cents to spend on candy or whatever, and
Right.
whatever turned into baseball cards. I brought them home. I showed my dad, and there's a Don Drysdale. My dad goes, "This guy's good." And there's an LK line. This guy's good. So every time I went up for groceries, I'd buy a pack, maybe 2 or 3 packs of baseball cards.
Wow.
It just kept going.
And you said with small town. What town were you from?
It's called Nitchie, North Dakota. It's a
Okay.
mile from Canada,
Okay.
75 miles from Winnipeg. So
Right.
we did have access to O-Pee-Chee cards.
Right. Oh man. So 67. So who were some of your favorite players at that time growing up
I
that you were dealt for?
I like I like the LK line. That was one of the first cards I got,
Good choice. Yeah.
and just whoever And then Harmon. I never did get a Harmon Killebrew that year because he was in a higher series, but I
Right.
got Mickey Mantles and Tony Olivas, and
Right.
we knew who
So
Mickey was. We know who. And then I watched. I remember watching the '67 World Series after that, the Red
right.
Sox and Cardinals, and I'd go home at lunchtime because I lived a block from the school,
Hmm.
small town, and we could go home for lunch, and I'd turn it on for the World Series introductions. And
Yeah.
I can remember Tony Conigliaro getting introduced. He had the big splotch on his eye from
Yeah.
being beamed earlier.
Yeah. Did he play in that series? He didn't play in that
I
series,
don't
right?
know. He didn't play.
Yeah. He got beamed right before the end of the season where they brought in Ken the Hawk Harrelson. They got, and I think in a trade they picked him up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a tragedy right there from that season. So you continued on collecting throughout the rest of the 60s and all of the 70s. And
Yeah. Yeah. One of my biggest memories was '68. Is at my grandparents, and my grandpa walks in with a full box of baseball cards, and I'm like, wow. I sat in his front porch and opened them all afternoon. I probably had some Nolan Rhines and stuff in that, but we didn't dig him out till early '70s when he became a better player. But
Right.
I still have my original game card set from that afternoon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of,
Wow, they're in great shape.
yeah. I had probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 times that many cards total. And I picked out the best ones that were left after playing with them for years.
Right. Did you follow the Twins as well? Also, are you? I know you're a Harmon Killebrew fan, and you got the Twins hat on now that I just noticed.
Yeah,
When did you become a Twins fan?
I've always liked the Twins, always liked the Tigers.
Right.
Um, just kind of followed them both all the way through. Tigers were good when I was young. Twins were good. They
Yeah.
got beat out by Boston in that '67 playoff run.
Right.
That was real exciting.
Right.
Right down to the last game, Boston playing Minnesota for the chance to
Right.
go to the series.
Yeah.
And you know, have to, rooted for both of them. Liked Rod Carew, played second base in Little League, so it was Rod
Right.
Carew trying to imitate him.
Right.
and I,
Absolutely.
and I was using a Denny McLean 31 Win glove at the time.
Now,
So
there was a card shows or stores. Were there any? Say, I'm definitely not in the '60s, but how about in the '70s? Were there card shows or stores in your area at that time that
no
you would
card
go?
shops, no
No,
shows.
guess not till the
Probably
1980s, probably.
yeah, late 70s. I started discovering antique shows and flea markets that had
Right,
cards. But
right,
before that, there was nothing. It was just the local grocery store.
right. So, okay, so that starts with the past here. Now let's move up now to the future. What do you collect today? Like, what are your, do you do set building? Are you a graded card collector, a raw card collector, rookie cards, Hall of Famers? Like, what do you collect? What is your main focus today?
Um, I collect exhibit cards. That's the only set I'm really collecting right now.
Yeah,
I've had sets in the past, and life experiences happen, and
right.
cards come and go. But um, I like the oddball cards, the
Hmm.
non-standard cards. And
Right.
I'll take a post serial card over
Oh yeah.
you know, a regular issue card from the
Right.
60s or 50s. I just love when I can find something like that.
Right. Well, you touched on exhibit. Now we talked before we went on recording here that I'm familiar, and I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with exhibit. I just never really got into learning about the history of exhibit. So we were talking before we came on, and uh, kind of explain to myself again and to the people out there watching as to when did they start. I know they had some car exhibits in the 20s because we had mentioned that there's a Lou Gehrig exhibit and
Mm-hmm.
a Jimmy Fox exhibit, but I think the ones that I'm familiar with is 47 to 66. So if you want to like maybe um, explain to the people out there as to the range, what they consist of. There's blank backs and some of the cards in there, if there's any that are considered rookie cards, just the whole, uh, in layman's term, the history of exhibit cards, because I'm totally fascinated with learning
Okay.
more about these cards.
Yeah, I love all I've learned about them. There's still learning. Um, they they started baseball cards in 1921. In 1921, they had 5,000 vending machines around the country in arcades, fairs, drugstores, soda fountains, down at your local beach or whatever.
Right.
And they produced like 40 million cards in
Wow.
1921, and that was all sports, non-sports, everything.
Right.
But that's still a lot of cards for. There was I think the U.S. population was around 106,000 back then, or 106 million. Sorry. And then there's exhibit cards like they. There's a Lou Gehrig in the 20s, a Jimmy
Right.
Fox. There's Babe Ruth is on one. Then in the 30s, they decided to go into the 4-in-1,
Nice.
and a lot of them have postcard backs.
Yep.
This one's nice because it's got Jimmy Fox, Mickey
Yep.
Cochran, and Lefty
Lefty
Grove,
Grove. Yeah.
and they won three straight World Series at the time.
Right.
And
And the
then
photography on these are beautiful. I mean, they're
yeah,
absolutely great pictures.
yeah, cheap cardboard but great pictures.
Yeah. And they're bigger than the normal size cards, but you know I think they're great. I mean, they present really well. We were talking about the Jackie Robinson cards and the different variations of the Robinson. Why don't you explain as to how many? You said there was like a tan or a gray. Um,
Yeah,
get into the
from nine
Robinson.
from 1947 through 66, that's considered the main the most recent set.
Right.
And some years they would print a card, and the next year they might not print it, or they might
Hmm.
print that same card for 5 or 6, 7 years.
Right.
Um, like for instance, um, Satchel Paige is only printed in 1949.
Nice. Beautiful.
That's a nice full figure pose of Satchel. And
Exactly.
some of them had black and whites. They had stats on the or blank back. Some and the ones from 62 through 63 had stats on the back.
Hmm.
And like for Jackie Robinson, there's a this is a black background version.
Right.
And those are made in 1952. And there's a tan version,
Yeah, I could
and that
definitely
was
see the difference. Yeah.
printed in 1948 through about 1954.
Right.
So there's variations like that. And then you have like Mickey Mantle. Here's one pose, but three different variations. The top one is printed in the USA. The bottom two are the top one's made in USA, sorry. The
Hmm.
bottom two are printed in USA, but one of them has the C and K connected and the other one doesn't.
Right. Now, is
And
there is there one that's more rare, Scott, than the other when it comes to the mantles, or about the same?
the 1966 is the rarest mantle. It's like a
Really?
portrait in pinstripes. And there was one on eBay a while back for around $750 in a
Wow.
PSA 2 or
Wow.
SGC 2. And here's the other pose of Mickey Mantle.
And that top one, I was saying, looks kind of like a sepia in modern terms, but you could
Yeah,
totally see the color variation.
yeah. And they were the one with the stats on the back was printed in 1963. And the other one, blank back,
Right.
that was printed in 64, 65, and 66.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
probably,
So,
yeah, probably one of the easiest rookies to figure out is the Maury Wills, which was stat back in 1963.
right. Yeah, because we were talking about what were some of the rookie cars from there. I thought maybe the Jackie would be considered a rookie, but you had said that's not really his rookie. And for Mantle, that didn't come out in 51. It came out in 52. So that wouldn't be his
Yeah.
rookie. So yeah, Maury Wills, I know he doesn't have a tops card in 63. He has the Fleer, but I wasn't aware of the exhibit card. Now I learned something. I learned something new tonight. Now that Maury Wills has one. So would that be considered probably the main rookie card for the exhibits for that time
Um,
frame? It's 47 to
it
66.
There may be some others. There's just so many. I'm I just finished up my checklist finally. It's about 750 cards for
Wow.
that era, all the different variations.
Right.
But I might take about 100 of them out if I don't collect the postcards. Those are so hard to find
Right.
around here anyway. But there's one other unusual thing about these exhibits. Notice the Jackie Robinson, everything is airbrushed out. He's
Oh
in his
yeah. Yeah.
he's in his Montreal Royals uniform, and they
Right.
airbrushed out everything.
Yeah. Didn't even realize that. Really
And
cool.
some of the newer ones even have more of a background on them, like this Floyd Robinson.
That's nice.
It's almost like a black and white photo.
So how many are you missing for the exhibit set right now? Would you say
At least
total?
half. At least half.
Well, it's a long journey, I know.
Yeah.
But that's the most fun about the whole thing with collecting. The journey is the fun. That's the
Mm-hmm.
most funnest part of collecting is the journey to get there.
Yeah.
Um, so is there any other cards that you might be working on besides exhibits that piques your curiosity? I know you were mentioning about post and maybe regional food and beverage type cards. I've always been a fan of the early 60s postcards like Maris and Mantle.
Well, I can show you some of my Killebrew cards.
Nice.
Whoops. Too much weight. Here's the 1961 Chemstrand. I like the oddball or the non-standard cards.
Yep. Yeah.
That's And I got a
Gem Mint
10 from
10.
61.
Wow.
And this is a trade block twins Harmon Killebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And these came they were part of a game. And there's probably 25 twins, and then there's like cards of a baseball signed by the
Right.
twins, cards of all the different major league logos. The game board is really a nice piece.
You should do the Harmon Killebrew run. Well, do you have the run completed for him?
No, I don't have
Okay.
any regular issues, but I have a
Okay.
bunch of, like, here's a transagram,
Yeah, those are great. Those came out in the
and
late
here's the
60s, right? In the late 60s?
1970 for the three
Okay,
panel like
70.
this. That's like the side panel from the
Yep.
transagram box.
Very nice.
One of my favorites is the bazooka cards.
Is that hand cut?
Yeah.
Or it looks like it's, yeah. You can see the, yep.
And then we mentioned Post and Jello. I got a
Oh, yeah,
62
yeah.
Jello Mickey Mantle. It's authentic. They're tough to get
I was just
with
about to
numbered
say, I've
holds.
never really seen graded post serial cards. They're usually authentic because of the hand cut. It's very hard to get
Mm-hmm.
any grade on those cards, but they're great cards, man. Those post serial cards are awesome. What's that? Oh, yeah. That's a five.
And that's not the advertising one either. It's the blank back. There's
Right.
another one that you can get in the Life magazine. I have one of those at PSA right now.
Okay. Those are awesome.
And I mentioned earlier, I want to take this one out of the sleeve, that we had access to O-Pee-Chee cards up north. Here's a 67 O-Pee-Chee mantle.
Wow.
And it's got the KSA Canadian
Yeah.
slab. I think it adds character being it's got as the Canadian
Yeah. I don't
card
think
and
I've
the
ever
Canadian
seen the
slab.
67 O-Pee-Chee Mantle before. I know it looks the same as the tops, but nonetheless, I've never seen an O-Pee-Chee. That's got to be rare.
And this is
Maris.
the Canadian post serial.
Wow.
See the French in there on the
Yep.
bottom.
There's just some awesome cards for sure.
And it's not all vintage. I bought a sheet of Nestle cards
Yeah.
and I cut it up and I got a grade on the Mattingly. It says hand cut.
I'm actually in search for that card because I do the top 80, which now they call the top 100 of the 80s, and that
Uh-huh.
Nestle Don Mattingly card is on the list. So I've never seen one in person for that Nestle Don Mattingly card. So kudos. That's a tough card to find.
I bought the sheet at the Dallas Card Show
Oh wow.
a couple of years ago.
Right. That's
Another
awesome.
bazooka, Here's another bazooka card, Tony.
Oliva.
That one came back a 5, so that's good.
Yeah. So
And
you're
here's
not
another
really
hand
a
cut.
you're not really a tops Bowman guy. You collect a lot of the, I guess we call them the oddball cards, but I don't like to use that word because to me they're all great cards. But
Yeah,
like the post cereal, food and beverage, especially the exhibit, it's just awesome. I think people out there are just so focused on tops and Bowman or Donruss Fleer, whatever, upper deck,
yeah,
that there's so much more out there to look at, to learn from, rather than, I guess you call, the mainstream cards. So
yeah,
I have to give it to you for really focusing on things like post serial and bazooka and exhibit. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a great thing, and a lot of people out there, in my opinion, should really be looking at some other cards because they're great and they're part of the culture
fun.
of baseball
And
cards.
like this one, you can get a 1949 Jackie Robinson.
Oh my God.
It's a two, but it's this Eureka stamp and it's dated 1949.
Right. And that's in
So
great shape for it too.
yeah.
Wow. So yeah, I've noticed some of the other through card shows, like the Campanella and um, the Satchel Paige. I've seen them at shows. I've rarely have seen that Jackie Robinson one that you were showing, especially in the tan. It's they're just really beautiful looking cards. Um, but now let's move to the future. What is something that has eluded you that you don't have yet? What is your goal in the future? Is that what you would like to pick up? What's that big card that you haven't gotten yet?
Some of the rare exhibits like Bobby Richardson, the Mickey Mantle portrait with
Right.
the stripes.
What
Um,
year's the Bobby Richardson exhibit?
1966.
Okay.
Same with the Mickey Mantle portrait.
Right.
For some reason, that year is hard to get.
Right. They just didn't print as many,
Right,
possibly, or okay.
right.
And what are they going for those cards roughly?
I think there's a Bobby Richardson that's graded for $450 on eBay
Huh.
right now. I'm not sure I want to pay that much yet.
Right.
And I
Well,
saw the
that's
Mickey
pretty cool.
Mantle in a 2.5 for 750 about a year and a half ago, and I didn't buy it. But
And that's the 66, right?
yeah, it had
Right.
had little fox stains on it, and I didn't really want that.
Right. So the cards that have eluded you right now, you're trying to get the 62 Richardson and
No,
66.
both are 66.
Both are 66 for Richardson and Mantle. Well, I wish you luck with that. I hope you can get those cards picked up. Is there anything else that you're still in the market for that you would like to pick up in the future
Uh,
besides the exhibit?
if I was to buy if I was to go after a regular issue set, it'd probably be 67 tops
Okay.
because that's the year I started, and
Right.
so that became
It's a
my
tough
favorite
set.
set. It
Yeah.
is.
The Brooks Robinson card in that set is almost worth as much as his rookie card,
Yeah.
which came out 10 years before, because it's the short print high number. So, um, yeah, I mean, you have the Carew rookie and you have the Seaver rookie. So,
A
yeah,
lot of
that's
single print
tough.
high numbers,
Yeah, totally a lot.
like $100 a card across the
Right.
board almost,
Oh my
maybe
God.
200.
So you want to do that as a raw set? You want to put that set together as a goal that you're thinking
That's
of doing?
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. I collect, I buy different Bart stars when I can find them too, older ones, like the
Okay.
oddball.
You
I do have
collect.
one here, I guess. This is the 1961 Fleer wallet picture.
Right. So you dabble in football cards as well.
A little bit. I've even
Yeah.
got a wrestling card,
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Well, from what year?
55, 56 Bronco Nagurski.
The Bronco Nagurski?
Yeah, the Bronco Nagurski. He was a wrestler also.
Did not know that.
And it's Parkhurst from Canada.
Was he a wrestler before football or after? I'm
During
probably.
and after. I have a ticket from one of his matches from 1941.
No way.
I have a pretty good ticket collection too, but
Right. See, that's what I love about this hobby and people like yourself and like Rick, vintage oddball cards, where there's so much to learn out there outside of the mainstream. There's a wealth of knowledge that's sitting out there that I'm trying to delve into and learn more myself about, and I'm sure there's a lot of viewers out there. But this has been great. Like, is there anything else you have out there that I haven't seen yet? That I
yeah,
was
I was at a card shop Friday and I
right.
saw something that I had to have.
Let me see what this is. 7th annual Kirby Puckett 8-ball invitational celebrity pool tournament. How cool
Yeah,
is that?
I couldn't leave the store without it.
Of course not. Oh, I totally applaud you for getting so much different kinds of stuff. Um, yeah, I definitely would love to get
It's
into more of that stuff.
the hunt is the best part of
The
it.
hunt is the best part. That's,
Yeah.
because then once you get it, then you want to find something else because the hunt is where your adrenaline, it's just so much fun trying to find those cards and they're rare as well. So, nah, that's been great. I'm learning a lot just talking to you about all these cards with exhibits and
I noticed you were getting into the Heartlands a little bit.
yeah, but these aren't the original ones that I purchased. These are Heartland came out, I think, in the late 50s, uh,
Hmm.
from 58 to I'm going to say 63. This is the 25th anniversary, which the 1988. So how you could tell is on the back of the statue on the round part of the belt, it'll have
Yeah.
number 25 on there. So they look the same, which they're a lot cheaper than the original ones, but I still love them anyway. I think they just present really well, and it's just cool for any man cave out there, for a baseball collector, such as myself, to try and fix things up. I'm just trying to rearrange things around here
Hmm.
so I could display them.
I
But
can see you. I can see you getting an original one someday.
yeah, yeah, I know the rarest one I think was Aparicio or Fox. I can't remember which one it was.
I
One
think
of those.
it's. I think it's Dick Groat actually.
Groat's another rare one
Yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'll buy Heartlands when I see them. I think you've seen my Willie Mays before.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's fun. I
Yeah,
really enjoy the hobby.
yeah,
Really enjoy going out looking. There's an antique show Friday if I can sneak away to it.
right. And
It's
you find a lot of stuff at antique shows. I
yeah,
agree.
and they have an early entry day. Like tomorrow isn't open to the public unless you
Right.
pay $20 to get in,
Hmm.
or Friday, I should say.
Are you going to the National next year in Cleveland?
Haven't decided yet.
Hmm.
It's,
What about did I ever tell you about the show in Ohio called Strongsville?
yes, that'd be fun to
It's
go to.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing that in April of next year. It's close to Cleveland, maybe 30 minutes closer to from Philadelphia, but it's a very vintage oriented show. So I recommend it. I haven't been there yet, so I'm recommending something I haven't been there yet, but um, I've heard a lot of good things about it, especially if you're a vintage collector like we are. But um,
Yeah, I'll
so
be
yeah,
at the I'll be at the Dallas show in November. I think
oh cool,
that should be fun.
right. Any
See
other
if you
shows on your agenda for the upcoming year that you'd like to attend?
just the local ones,
Yeah,
pretty much in Dallas.
cool.
Maybe the Fort Worth. I think there's another show that's smaller in Dallas. I wouldn't
Hmm.
mind getting to. Rich
Right.
Klein's show would be kind of fun to go to in
Yeah,
Dallas too.
yeah. I've heard good things about that as well.
Hmm.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Scott. We've been on about 30 minutes now, so um, you've been a wealth of knowledge for exhibits. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more questions afterwards for the next couple months because I'm still trying to learn as much as I can on the exhibit sets from 47 to 66. I just think they're great cards, and people need to really start looking at things outside of the mainstream Topps, Bowman, Fleer sets, and look at exhibits and regional food and beverage cards. I think they're great. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, I want to thank you for coming on, and everybody out there. I appreciate for tuning in. Make sure you check out Scott's channel. I'll have the link down below. Stuke's baseball cards and curiosities. Thanks, Scott. Thank you once again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
oh, thanks for having me. It's been a
Um,
pleasure being
my
here.
pleasure, man. Thank you guys for tuning in to Sports Card Memories episode number 4. This is Ray for Philly. Like I always say, have fun with it and see you real soon. Bye bye.